This conference will now be recorded.
I will not take too much of time, just a couple of minutes. So, as I was saying, that Rubina Saiba, we know her for a long time, and we are so proud of her achievement, not only in the religious education, as you've been listening to her for last few weeks, but also in the academic level. She is one of the dean at the AKU, and yesterday, everyone in the world, all the Ismaili Jamaat and maybe others, seen her on the stage at the Karachi AKU. And this is the picture in front of you where she was speaking to the convocation of 2020. So we would like to welcome, if you want to congratulate her. And I just wanted to share this with all of you that we are so proud of her, and we are so thankful to her for giving us time. I mean, she is so busy with her other work, but she takes time to come on this channel to teach us and to enlighten us. Thank you, Rubina Saiba, and welcome once again. So, Yali Mother to everybody. Let's start. Yasmin Saiba, you can take over now. I will stop sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Aziz, for a very nice and kind gesture. Actually, through this preparation, I also learned a lot. So it's not me teaching, but it's collective kind of wisdom we move forward. So
Thank you.
it's just yeah, thank you.
All right. So once again, Dr. Rubina, congratulations. Walla Ali Madad. And Ya Ali Madad, everyone. All right. So it's great to be with you all again. And today we are going to be talking about the wisdom of patience. And what does it mean? How does it connect with Salwat? How does it connect with all our actions and deeds, and why is it so very important? Remember the principle of Islam, everything is living and alive in Islam, okay? Everything is logical. And I would like to also mention, please remember the formula that I use, which I have created from the works of Allama Sahib, the body, soul, intellect, the rule of threes, okay? And so today we are going to look at what is patience, the importance, levels, and the esoteric, the levels and the esoteric understanding will be covered by Dr. Rubina. And so I'm just going to look at what is patience and its importance, okay? Who can tell what this image says? And whose saying is it? No belief is like modesty and patience. Who said that? Please unmute. I shouldn't even be asking because the answer is right there. It tells you exactly whose saying it is, right? Script and Arabic script. I'm sure some of you do.
Hazrat Ali.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And can you make out what this graphic says?
Ali.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So again, the reason I just wanted to mention this is because remember, every time we talk about Hazrat Ali, we are referring to the Ali of the time, Ali Zaman, right? Because Ali is also the title of the living present Imam, okay? And it is because of the present living Imam that everything is in existence, okay? Just like the physical world cannot exist without the solar sun. Similarly, the world of religion cannot exist without the nur of the Imam of the time. And so I would like to make a connection, and I would like us to listen to this beautiful clip here where Imam is actually talking about tolerance. Even though we are talking about patience, remember the cycle, okay? That wisdom actually helps us to be humble, and humble leads us to patience. So does tolerance, okay? So it's a very beautiful clip, and even this beautiful statement of the Imam of the time, right? That tolerance can become a powerful positive force, one which allows all of us to expand our horizons and each enrich our lives, right? So how can we enrich our lives, and how does it connect with patience? Okay, let's have a look. So the Q is 7. All right. So it's going to be really fast, so enjoy. Okay. And as you're listening, reflect on how it's connecting. Remember, our topic is patience.
To be the legitimate authority for the interpretation of the faith. For the Shia today, all over the world, he is regarded as the first Imam. I cite Hazrat Ali's words so that you may understand the spirit in which I have attempted to fulfill the mandate left to me as the 49th hereditary Imam after the death of my grandfather. And I quote, "No belief is like modesty and patience. No attainment is like humility. No honor is like knowledge. No power is like forbearance. And no support is more reliable than consultation." Hazrat Ali's regard for knowledge reinforces the compatibility of faith and the world. And his respect for consultation is, in my view, a commitment to tolerant and open-hearted democratic processes. These Islamic ideals are, of course, emphasized by other great religions. Despite the long history of religious conflict, there is a long counter-history of religious focus on tolerance as a central virtue, on welcoming the stranger and loving one's neighbor. Who is my neighbor? One of the central Christian narratives asks. Jesus responds by telling the story of the Good Samaritan, a foreigner, a representative of the other, who reaches out sympathetically across ethnic and cultural divides to show mercy to the fallen stranger at the side of the road. I know you will find nothing unusual in this discussion, given your own spiritual foundations.
All right. Explaining to us tolerance. He is explaining to us patience, and he is explaining to us humility, right? So this whole circle begins with patience and then ends with patience, because we know that humility is created from wisdom. Wisdom is created when knowledge, experiential knowledge, is put into practice, because wisdom actually differentiates right from wrong, and therefore it leads to humility, and humility leads back to patience. Okay, so that is the beautiful sublime circle of patience. And Ismailism is the path of wisdom and knowledge. And whose saying is this? Anyone take a guess? Mullah Ali has said that the Ali tradition is that of the intellect, right? So always, so in connecting these words with knowledge and wisdom and the elite tradition, this actually is the saying of the Imam of the time, okay, that Ismailism is the path of wisdom and knowledge. what are the ethics of our faith, right? So as we've already explored wisdom, patience, tolerance, but we also see that without humility, the ethic of Islam is not complete. And so why is it? Because humility actually is the result or the product of patience, which we get from tolerance and wisdom. And the hadith which says that Mullah Ali is the door to the house of wisdom. So we see that everything is in the house of wisdom. And who is this house? What is this house? So we realize very quickly, as mentioned earlier, that everything in Islam, specifically Ismailism, is alive, and so is the house of wisdom. So the Imam of the time is the house of wisdom. The Prophet himself is the house of wisdom. And in the house of wisdom, which we have to go through the door, because without entering the door, we cannot access anything from the house of wisdom. Okay? This is God's teaching, and therefore acceptance of the Imam of the time actually brings freedom and what elevates our soul to merge, what helps the divine spark that we have to become a flame. Okay, and this house of wisdom, actually everything is in it. There's nothing outside the house of wisdom. We can say God is beyond being and non-being, right? So God is outside the house of wisdom. But in essence, God himself says that I am appointing the prophet and the imams, and we should follow them, right? So from that point of view, then there is nothing outside the house of wisdom. And there's a beautiful verse in Surah Baqarah where God says that he grants wisdom to whom he wills. And whoever is granted wisdom is indeed given abundant good. So this abundant good is very sublime and it's very unique. It's never ending. It's just like the cycle of the mountain. On the top of the mountain, we have greenery, we have animals, but as we go deeper and deeper into the mountain, we have precious gems, right? And so on, the cycle continues. So in this case, we have all the treasures of knowledge and wisdom in the house of wisdom. What is patience? Patience is a physical attribute of human beings. Why is it an attribute of human beings? Because it is an attribute which uses the intellect and allows the intellect to ride ahead of the carnal self, okay, or the lower self or the animal self. So patience rides ahead with the intellect so that we can make better choices, and therefore it is not an attribute of angels because they do not have free choice. Requirement of every murid of the time that everyone should have patience in difficult situations, because it is important, and God himself says that he's going to try everyone in 5 things. And God also teaches us that we have to seek patience through prayers, and we have to seek help. God says clearly, seek help, right, through patience. So it is a divine requirement. Patience is a divine requirement. And when we look at the wisdom of patience, we realize that spiritually it is the living personality of the Holy Prophet and his successor, and in every given time, the Imam of the time. And the condition to accept and receive patience is to ask for divine help, because as it said very clearly, that divine help should be sought, and it is only the Imam of the time who can then give us blessings, guidance, and all the treasures of Islam. Okay? The condition is really important. So again, if we think about it, how can patience lead us to the highest level? How can patience lead us to the house of wisdom? So in this house of wisdom, the question would be, if we follow all these ethics, can we enter the house of wisdom? Right? If anyone, so again, in the beginning, I'd say that humility is the most important element for us to reach the house of wisdom, because humility encompasses patience, wisdom, and tolerance. So without it, can one reach the house of wisdom? It's a question mark. And of course, the answers are all here, but it's also a beautiful reflection for us, right? Because Salwat is, patience is such a vast topic, it encompasses everything. And therefore, no Mu'min with high ambition is without trials and tribulations. And for a Mu'min, all the trials, tribulations actually are very beneficial. Okay, and according to Surah Baqarah 2, ayat 155, Allah clearly says that He wants to test Mu'mins on all the occasions where patience is required. Okay, and then He asks the Prophet that if the Mu'mins are patient, you send salawat upon them, which is in the form of guidance and mercy, right? So again, you see the cycle happening, right? That when we have a difficult situation, and if we seek help from Allah as His command is, we practice patience, then upon us, the Imam of the time descends mercy and guidance, okay, which is the blessings of Salwat. So what are those 5 occasions where God tests the moments? Fear is the first one, and fear is the state of the heart. Then this fear becomes very manageable, and through it emerge very many benefits, right? Through hunger, the carnal soul is reformed, okay? And through the loss of wealth and lives, again, the human heart is shattered, it's broken, and within that, the heart is expanded, and then it gets ready for annihilation in He who is above all else. There's a beautiful quotation of Rumi. Most of you may know it, and you can also expand on what I'm saying, where Rumi says that break your hearts so many times that it is totally broken, and that's when the divine comes in, right? So we have to continually break our heart so that from it emerges divine mercy and divine rays, okay, Nurani rays. The loss of fruit is a state of spiritual loss. And how is spiritual loss felt, right? Spiritual loss is again being away from knowledge and wisdom, being away from ibadat, not enjoying our ibadat, or being away from service, or being away from practicing our ethics. Again, you can see the cycle of how everything is reverberating around patience, right? And why is patience so important, and why is it so necessary, and why does God Himself command us to seek help from He who is above all else? Because patience is a way to return to Allah. Okay? And like I mentioned earlier, though, this subject is so vast because it has to be practiced again and again and again and again, physically and spiritually, intellectually, internally. And because it covers this topic of patience, actually has all the teachings of religion in it. And we have a beautiful saying of our beloved 48th Imam, who says very clearly that and he draws our attention towards the verse of istija, okay, which is inna Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Verily we belong to Allah and to Him we return. So you see how empowering this is, right? Normally we recite this when somebody passes on to the next world, right? But here Imam is drawing our attention to be mindful in our everyday activities and that we should recite this. Inna lillaha wa inna ilahi raji'un. We belong to Allah and to Him we return. And this is a reminder, a constant reminder for us that our real original abode is the divine presence. Okay? And also, again, we see the cycle happening where we have come here, descending the ladder of God, like, and then we have to return back in the ocean of Nur, right? And through patience, we get our carnal soul. Remember Maulana Rumi saying that break your heart so many times that the carnal soul is totally broken and then it ascends from nafse amara to nafse lawama and nafse mutmainna. Okay? So we have the purpose, intention of patience is to take us back to the ocean of Nur from where we have come. Okay? And this Surah Bakra ayat again affirms this, right? It says, Allah says, we shall surely try you with everything to fear, everything of fear, hunger, loss of wealth, lives and fruits, and give glad tidings to the ones who are patient, right? So clearly says that patience actually helps us to grow. It elevates our nafs amara, and then what happens? Those who do not do that are in a great loss, but those who obey and practice patience, what happens to them? Allah returns us back to Him. Verily, we are Allah's and to Him we return. Okay? So that's the beauty of patience. And those are, and then also Imam's blessings, Imam's salawat, guidance, wisdom, knowledge, ease in practicing zikr, ease in practicing the course of the word, the Ism Azam, clarity of our imagination, our thoughts, our ideas, all those are mercies and all those are specially, slowly but gradually returning us to the ocean of Nur from where we have come. And this is why patience is so special and so important. And so in conclusion, I would like to say this Maulana Rumi says, right, yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I want to change myself. And so we see that wisdom, right? Wisdom actually is what changes us. Wisdom makes us humble. Wisdom gives us patience, okay? So in order for us to change the world, because the world is full of ignorance, and it is Allah's sunnah where He has appointed the Imam of the time who has then commanded his murids that we should work. We are stewards of this world of creation. We should work and ensure that the world of creation is left better than when we found it, right? So it's not just in physical form in terms of the greenhouse effect of climate change, but also in terms of effacing ignorance. There's a beautiful prayer, وَأَشْرَقَتِ الْأَرْضُ بِنُورِ رَبِّهَا. And so in order for us to be helpers of the Imam of the time, we need to change ourselves first. And how can we change ourselves in order to change our families, our cities, our countries, and become part of knowledge society, right? So it all starts with ourselves. We have to make sure that we transcend the education we have, the knowledge we get. We have to practice it. This is all experiential. And that's the beauty about patience, that it's actually, without practicing patience, there are no results, right? So without putting knowledge into, without turning knowledge into wisdom, we cannot get many benefits. And therefore, when I am wise, so I'm changing myself today, right? I would like to leave it here. I'm missing few things, but that's okay. Dr. Rubina can cover those. And my time is up. So thank you. If there are any questions or clarifications, we can do it in Q&A time. Thank you, Yasmin.
Thank you, Yasmin. Thank you, everyone. I am looking for my slide.
Now we see something.
Abhi, okay.
Gigi.
Okay, thank you so. So for wisdom of patience, I will use the word sabr instead of patience, because when you look at sabr in a conceptual way and a literal way, the meaning sometimes change. Sabr is a concept in the Quran which is mentioned almost more than 100 times, and it is a huge topic in Quran and in Islamic and esoteric teaching. So, though literally we all see that sabr and patience are equal, but once we dissect like more deeper and meaningful, we will see that how it encompasses many other things in sabr. So please bear with me. Sabr is actually patience, right? So as-sabr is sabr or as-sabr is Arabic term which means patience, and if you go to dictionary, if you go and Google it, there are a lot of meanings: endurance, capacity to accept, tolerate during the trouble, suffering, and ability to remain calm and not become annoyed when dealing with problems or with difficult people. And there are other meanings too. But in the Holy Quran, as I said, that this is a very special subject and it needs dissection in terms of virtue and the habits of Imam and Prophets. So it is a very important element and virtues or characteristics of Imam and Prophet that actually sabr is a whole heavenly program for the spiritual progress. So it's and for the true moment, it is very important that if you uh, obey or if you walk through the path of sabr, then and if it is followed properly, then definitely success is guaranteed. And what is the success? Is fanafillah or fanafil imam. So, in this spiritual journey, as Yasmin also mentioned, that if you want to enter the house of Allah, then definitely you need a lot of virtues, in which sabr is very important virtue or a very important element. Same as when you plan a tour or a journey to wherever you want to go, you take necessary steps, you take a necessary preparation, and like for example fuel, water, extra tires, food. So in the same way, when you embark on the spiritual journey, sabr is the most important element, tolerance is the most important element, without which you are unable to get success in your spiritual progress and in spiritual journey. Though it is taken, sabr is taken in very common way, but the reason Quran has mentioned here sabr in a lot of occasion, because wisdoms are there are few hadiths and few ayats related to jihad and war as well. So we'll look into those ayats as well. So worldly matters, yes, we do sabr. Those who are not Muslim or those who do not believe in Allah, we find them more patient. If we literally take the meaning of patience, then they are more patient than us Muslims, we have seen. So why does it is so that this characteristics is mainly mentioned in the Quran, where patience or a sabr is equivalent to endure all your or tolerate all the difficulties, or wait and don't make a noise over your difficulties. So those things we'll see later on. And but in the Quranic terms, the concept of sabr is in a different meaning. So here I want to show you. Okay, a sabur is in the last, and I have made a circle here, a sabur. So if you see the 99 names of Allah, a sabur is in the last, and I have highlighted. So Allah's name, which is a sabur, and we can ask question that whether Allah's require patience. Why one of the Allah's name is the patient? So As-Sabur is the name of Allah, and so the question is that why is the name of Allah As-Sabur, the patient? Is Allah patient? Allah requires sabr. So in fact, the fundamental principle is there that God is independent of all attributes and He is free from all the things. So in the light of Quran, if we see sabr is an action and a deed, then it should belong to humanity and not Allah, right? So He is above all the form, and His attributive name is actually belongs to Imam of the time and Prophet, because the Prophet are in the form of human body. So sabr always is related to the person or a human who has a body, who has a nafs, and who has a akal. So that's where here we can conclude that all the attributed or attributive name, which is the 99 names, sometimes it is more than 300, in some reference it is more than 3,000, 1,000. So these all attributive names are actually the names of Imam and the Prophet of the time, Prophet and Imam of the time. So therefore all the names is the reflections of Imam. So now this gives the greater understanding that manifestations of actions of God actually is in His attributive name through Prophet and through Imam. So, and we have heard many times that وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا عِندَنَا خَزَائِنُهُ وَمَا نُنَزِّلُهُ إِلَّا بِقَدْرٍ مَّعْلُومٍ. So, like among possible things, there is not a thing, but it's in treasure with us, and we do not send any treasure, but in a unknown, but in a known measures. So, all the treasures, including Allah's attributes, including all the concepts of Quran, these are in Allah's treasure. So that means actually Allah's treasure is Imam and the Prophet. So the Prophet and the Imam are Allah's treasure, and that's where Imam Sultan Ahmad Shah has said that हम सबर करने वाले हैं, इसलिए हम सबर करते रहेंगे, हमारा घर as-sabur का घर है. This is not the exact word, but not the exact quotation, but I was hearing some lecture and some missionary has quoted this, so I put this here. So Imam Sultan Ahmad Shah is, I'm just paraphrasing, so said that hum sabar karne wale. That means Imam are as-sabur, and Imam is saying hamara ghar as-sabur ka ghar hai. Like we are the one who possesses the divine virtue of sabr, and we continuously will do sabr, and we have, or we are the house of sabr. So who is the house of sabr? House of sabr is the Imam of the time. So now we can understand that as-sabur, basically the level of the sabr we required is the level of not the human being or a common man, but it's a very highly sublime property or a divine property which Imam has. And if we need to enter into the house of Sabur or as-Sabur, then we need to enter into the Imam. Or we need to fana fillah or inhalation, inhalate ourselves in Imam. And and that's where Jamaat Khana, if we see that Jamaat Khana is basically a place of peace, a place where we do worship, it's a house of Imam, so it's a place of as-sabur, and that's the reason we do not allow any fighting, any dispute, any other kind of conflicting conversation in Jamaat Khana also. And we do not indulge into different kind of debates in Jamaat Khana because all that might create fights and disputes. So therefore, we see that this is the house of Imam or as-sabur. And Imams and prophets are, since in the human form, they lived and being themselves in the human life. So that is very much related to ourselves and very much related to humanity as well. So now the level of sabr. So here, if we see three circles, can you see three circles? Yes. No? Okay, thank you. So here there are three circles. So level of sabr, as I said, that we need to understand the level of sabr in terms of Imam and the Prophet. Those are as-sabur. And we are, as a Mu'min, also included in this. So the bigger circle, if you see, are the Prophet. And during Prophet's time, you have seen that many prophets have gone through great physical trials and tribulations, oppositions, marginalizations, and there are a lot of troubles they got. And we have heard a lot of stories about many prophets, but they stood fast in the religion. And if we can take example of Hazrat Isa, he was crucified. Hazrat Musa was thrown into fire. Ibrahim was asked to sacrifice his son. So these all sacrifices, these all trials and tests were examples given to the humanity that the prophet level of sabr is much more at the higher level, but they stood fast in the religion and they continue walking through the path of the religion. The middle circle is the example of Imam, and we have seen that Imam have also gone through many oppositions, many obstacles. We have stories of Imam Hussein. Imam have underwent prosecution and also underwent during Dore Satar. And there were now also, if you see, though there is no such physical wars, but there are objections of smileys and intellectual wars always going on. So these are the examples of as-sabur at the level of prophet, which is at a higher level because they are the most one who had beared all kind of tribulation. Then comes Imam, and the level of Mu'min is not that huge. If you see the circle, it is very small, tiny circle. So Mu'min's tests are not that huge like Prophet and Imam, but the reward is same. So it's such a blessing in sabr that although we are being tested very minutely, not like Prophet, not like Imam, but we were given the same reward as Prophet and Imams. Has Noor, we can also receive the same Noor. And particularly in religious matter, example, when during doing any khidmat, doing ibadat, engaging into ilm or marifat, sometimes we are being tortured, we are being questioned, and sometimes it happens when we start doing something good and we had a very bad experience. And like for example, when we start ibadat and we have done some giryawazari, and on the same day we get or indulge into some kind of problem. And many people may think that why this happened today? I woke up for my ibadat, I went to Jamaat Khana, and why it happened today? So many times this question is being answered in a way that you have started walking on the path, so that you are tested. If you have not started walking on the path, you are out of the test. So you will have a test, you will have the exams when you enter in the university, when you enter in the school. But those who are out of the school, out of the university, they are not being tested. So it is very important that if you do something good, if you walk in the ibadat, if you walk in the khidmat, and if you walk in a lot of other things, you may be tested, because Allah wants to see that whether the murid is stood fast, or what he is doing once I test him or her. So then the next circle is like Yasmin also explained, that why is testing applied to human being and not the angel, because there are attributes attached to the angel and one attribute attached to animals. So the attribute which is attached to angels are intellect, and the attributes of sabr actually requires intellect and carnal soul both. So this is the conflict between angels and the nafs. So it cannot be applied to animals because they have only nafs. It cannot be applied to it cannot be applied to animal because it does not have akal, and it does not apply to angel because they do not have nafs. So it applies to the human being only because they have both nafs and intellect both. So you have to decide whether you move towards nafs or you move towards akal. So in such a position that human being is lied between angel and animals, then that's where quality of sabr applies, and the reward is also for a mu'min or a human being. And but the human being is not the whole humanity. It is very important that in Islamic term or in a true form, who is human or who are human beings in a true form. So in Quran, God says in Surah 7, Ayat 179, and certainly we have created a hell for those, they have hearts, but they do not understand, eyes, but they cannot see, they have ears, but they do not hear. They are like cattle, and they are more misguided. For that, they are negligent. So now you see this verse clearly shows that there are many people who, despite of being in a human form, like the physical form is like of a human, but they are like animal, because or in other words we can say that insan numa haiwan, or human like animals. So they see as a human being, but actually their attributes are not like a human, because the true reason of we cannot say there are true human beings, because they have lack of guidance and they are negligent. They are not using their hearts, they are not using their eyes, and they are not using their ears. And they fell from the rank of humanity and went down to the level of animals. Now, heart from which we understand our faith, we understand Islam, years from which we receive Imam Farmans, we receive ilm, we hear a lot of ilm, we hear Ginan, we hear a lot of things. So from that, soul of intellect goes from the ears. And eyes, in definitely when we progress in Ibadat, we see a lot of spiritual manifestations when we go to Ibadat or when we see miracles. So that's from eyes we see a lot of things, but we just close our eyes. So that's where these are the negligence. So, and they are wrongdoing is negligence. So the word negligence have many meanings, and here particularly it's understanding the true knowledge with heart, mind, eyes, and ears. And this is the remedy for negligence. So if you want to get rid of the negligence and you want to become a human being in a true sense, then we need to indulge our heart, mind, ears, eyes, in knowledge and in ibadat. So therefore it concludes that patience or sabr is usually like not used such as in a common sense, but it is connected with wisdom, intellect and logic. So nowhere outside the circle of Islam, patience or a sabr exist. So this is very important to note that until and unless we have the level of prophet and we have the imam of the time farman, and where we obey faramin, the true sabr, the true concept of sabr which Quran is highlighting, it's nowhere else other than this circle. So we again will now see attributes of Allah, and I have made here the continuum. So if on the one side of continuum, if we see there is a divinity, and on the other side a humanity. So when we attribute patience to divine essence, it is obvious that it is not same in the same sense which we used it for his servant. So rather patient and all of his attribute belongs to God and his treasure. So even though everything belongs to Allah, and if we look into this imaginary line of continuum, we see that there are few things which are placed in the close to divinity. Like example, pen, which is Allah's pen, Allah's guarded tablet, Allah's throne, Allah's dice, Allah's soul, Allah's robe, Allah's face, hand, book, religion. So these all are very close and proximal to divinity. So these are the divine attributes. So yeah, so then if we look here in the humanity, these are also attributes of Imam: justice, patience, forbearance, mercy, forgiveness. So these are also the attributive names of Allah and these attributive names of Imam, but these are very close to humanity. So this shows that in this continuum, if we attribute these manners in ourselves, if we create all those manners in ourselves like justice, patience, mercy, forgiveness, then this is the path or a footstep to go to the divinity. So that's where the more attributes towards the humanity are these, and the attributes towards divinity are pen, guarded tablet, and throne, and book, and religion. The only way to get to the divinity or to the spirituality or to these all attributes and fanafillah, then we need to develop all these attributes of Allah, which is towards the humanity. And that's where there is a hadith, it's called Takhallaku bi akhlaqillah, create your manners according to the manners or attributes to Allah. So why Allah has done this? That his wisdom in attributing higher ranks to himself, because he invites people to attend this rank. He invites people to attend the pen, enter into the guarded tablet, see that what is how the guarded tablet is, to see his soul, to see his, to recognize his robe, recognize his face, not the physically but in the spiritual manner also, but without the adoption of attributes which are related to the humanity, proximity of the divinity cannot be attained. And we all are, like all Smileys who believe in Imam Zaman, they all are endowed with the capabilities of Allah's virtues too, because we are the mirror of Allah. So we do have all the capabilities, we do have all the attributes which are related to the humanity, and we need to apply those, adopt those to get into the divinity and to get into the spiritual progress. So the next is now developing sabr. So now we have understood that sabr is not just a patience. Like we are, yes, it is very important that To start with, we have a sabr, we have a patience, we do not complain, but sometimes we need to do the haste, take the opportunity. We walk through the spiritual path very quickly. So you if you remain calm in the spiritual path, then you will unable to get the spirituality. So therefore, meaning of sabr conceptually, in a Quranic manner, it is more than patience. It is at the higher level. And so for developing sabr, as we mentioned, that developing the habits of Allah and journey of knowledge and good deeds. So knowledge is also very important. Hakiki ilm and marifat is also very important. And we already said that the virtues are given to the moment, but we need to create all those attributes, and we have the capacity, and we can create him, and people have created the capacity. We have example in Islam. We have dais, peers, and all Buzurgani Deens who have created those capabilities and reached to that divinity, destination of divinity. And so before I go to Hezbollah, the example of going from humanity to divinity, and for the Fanafillah, we can take example of wood. So wood can be wet, which is very far from the fire. Wood can be dry, which is close to the fire. And there is a wood which is a burning wood, which means that wood is merged into it. So we see the three levels: wet wood, dry wood, and burning wood. But here we need to see that what kind of wood we want to become. So if we accept the rank of Fanafillah, we have to adopt the firing wood. So we can have all we have is a spark available in our heart, as Imam Sultan Shah has said that we do have spark in all our hearts. We have to flame that spark and turn it into the fire, which is the Nur. And without complete preparation, a destination is not automatically be reached. So this is definitely very hard journey, but divine help is always required. And once you take up the first step, definitely Allah will help you in path. So there is a concept of Hezbollah, concept of war, always war, or some kind of conflict going on, or a discussion going on in our personality. So because there is an army of God in our personality, and there is an army of Shaitan in our faculty as well. So our all actions dependent on with whom we are. So therefore, if you see the Quranic term Hezbollah, which is army of Allah, and Hizbul Shaitan, which are army of Shaitan. So the powerful part of this war is in spiritually, which is more fierce fighting and going on during the luminous ibadat time. So if we be consistent and do not give ears to Shaitan, this perseverance is requirement of creating the sabr and patience. So the most important thing is that we require perseverance, and we constantly struggle, even though you may have a lot of army of Shaitan who will give you he will send messages that do not, this is the time of rest, or maybe you have something in the morning, you sleep now, so there are a lot of excuses, you will be getting it. So these armies will whisper in your heart and then do not let you to do good deeds. But army of God will wait for you, that what you decide. Once you decide to sit in the ibadah, then army of Allah will help you. So, and this Hezbollah and Hizbul Shaitan are actually the terms which are used at the time of Prophet Muhammad in jihad. But now there is no jihad. It is the jihad which is going through in our personal life, during the spiritual progress, during khidmat, during ibadah, during ilmi work, during listening to any religious thing. So these are all small tips. And so this is very important component, that when we sit in the ibadat and when we do the luminous ibadat, there are a tug of war going on because Hezbollah is with Shaitan, and we gradually, it's not at all once, but gradually, how much we do, how much we try to fail all the satanic kind of attributes. So that is also called a sabr, and how much patience we have to do in during the ibadat. The other thing is the patience at the time of trials and tribulation. I will not go in detail because Yasmin has already explained that in the trials and tribulation, everyone is having the trial. So in Daimul Islam, according to Imam Jafar Sadiq, once Prophet Muhammad visited a graveyard, and he saw a woman crying near the grave of her son. And Prophet asked her not to cry like this for this loss. So she did not recognize Prophet, and she said that you have not lost your jigar ka tukda. तो आपने जिगर का टुकड़ा नहीं खोया है, मैंने खोया है. So that kind of conversation she did, but since she had not recognized, later on few people said that he was a prophet. Then she was ashamed of her action, and she went to Prophet and she said that, "Oh Rasulullah, I have not recognized you, but I just want to ask you a question, that if I do sabr, then will I get sawab? Will I get any rahmat? Will I get reward?" So Prophet Muhammad said that patience is the important attribute at the time of trials and tribulation. After some time goes, or after some time is passed, then there is no sawab. So because time is also the remedy, which is a neutral. So as the time pass, you naturally, it's a natural process. You have a sabr in yourself, and the patience come through a natural process. So reward is only when at the time of trial, you say, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un." So this son, like for if we take the example of this lady, then we can say, okay, naturally we cry, we all have sorrow of this loss, but how we react. So if we just do leave everything and go to Kabar and just leave that person, and we cry a lot, or we start looking ourselves and then we say, okay, this son is from Allah, and now he has taken this treasure from me. So, and that's how we start living our life. So, and in that sense, divine help will be received, reward will be received. So, your ability to be patient and engaged in the practices and become more and more at the time of trial and tribulation. So that's what Prophet Muhammad has given us a lesson, that it is useful at the time of the trial and tribulation. So if you see sabr is very much attached to the story of Hazrat Ayub alayhi salam. And these are few Quranic ayat. There are two ayat in Surah Anbiya, which is 21 by 83 and 84. And there are four ayat, which is Surah Saad, 38 by 41 to 44. And the exoteric study in a physical form, a story, it's like that Prophet Muhammad was a descendant of Prophet Ibrahim, and he lived in Rome, and his wife, and he has 14 children. That's how many of Qasasul Anbiya, or the stories of Prophet books, are telling. He was immensely blessed and very strong, healthy. He has a large plots of land. He was a very strong community leader, highly respected, and he also loved his people. And despite of a lot of wealth, he was not arrogant, but he was humble and constantly thanking Allah for everything he was being blessed. So one day, Shaitan or Satan, who sees Ayub doing ibadat and doing shukr guzari, and he whispered evil thoughts to Ayub that you do have a displeasure of life, and that's why you enjoy, and that's why you are sincere. But once you will taken away, if these wealth will be taken away, then you will not be so thankful. So Satan asked God that if you remove his wealth, then you will find that his tongue will no longer take your name, and he will stop praying. Then Allah said that, okay, for your sake and for the trial of the sake of Ayub, we will test Ayub, and then we'll see his loyalty. So at the time past, Prophet Ayub wealth began to diminish, his land and his servant money and evaded, and he left with nothing. But Ayub stood strong and did not complain to Allah and did not leave ibadat. Then Shaitan again told Allah that despite of his wealth, but he is still healthy. So, or he has a lot of people with it. He has a friends, he has a family. So once if you take away his all family and friends, then we'll see that he will do ibadat or not. But then Ayub replied that Allah gives whom he wills and Allah takes from whom he wills. And all of the wealth I have with me was belong to Allah, and and he has the authority to take it back from me. So Ayub has lost, and then this trial goes on. Shaitan again dissatisfied and turned into Allah and said that I want to test Ayub's faith when he was without his family. So Ayub has lost his 14 children and in a crash killing, and then Shaitan visited Ayub in a disguised form and said that the circumstances under which your children died were sad, and surely your Lord is not rewarding you properly for all your prayers. But what Ayub responded? Ayub responded that Allah gives me what is good for me and takes away that is displeasing for me. And these children and my friends all belongs to Allah, and he has taken away. So he will take all the things which is not beneficial for me. So I will remain firm in my belief and remain thankful for the Creator. So now his wealth is gone, his children died, and then Shaitan said that okay, he is healthy. So now wealth is gone, family is gone. Shaitan wants to take his health. So soon after that, Ayub's health began to deteriorate, and he was so ill. And it is said that he developed some worms on the skin, and his body skin was peeled off, revealing his muscles and bone. And there were a lot of smell coming from his body, so nobody would like to be with Ayub, and he was left alone. But at that time, Ayub actually say that I in this surah, if you see in 2183, Ayub he cried to his Lord and say that harm has afflicted me, and though thou art the most merciful of the merciful, wa anta arhamur rahimin. So this is Ayub's tasbih, Arhamur Rahimin. We can also recite like ourselves when we afflicted with these trials and tribulation, that Arhamur Rahimin means you are the merciful of the merciful. And this is a very powerful tasbih, Ya Arhamur Rahimin, Ya Arhamur Rahimin. And when you have a lot of trials and tribulation, because this Ayub has asked Allah that harm is now I am unable to do your tasbih and I'm unable to do your ibadat. That's the reason I need mercy, and you are the merciful of all the merciful. And then Allah has responded and then took off his harm, and then he gave his family back. And this is just a physical exoteric story. It has a deeper meaning. We can discuss somewhere else, but basically the gist is that after a lot of trials and tribulation, Allah has given the mercy and the reward. So the reward of the sabr Hazrat Ayub has received, that he has received the reward because he stood fast in the faith. And then there are 4 ayat where Allah is remembering Ayub, that he is saying that when he called upon his Lord, his shaitan has afflicted me with toil and torment. So these are the 4 verses. And the last verse it says that we found him patient, most excellent servant. Surely he was the frequent uh, returning to Allah. Sorry, there is some typo error. So that's where that kind of sabr Prophet has received, and they give the lesson of sabr to us. So if we have these trials and tribulations which we could not bear, we can recite Arhamar Rahimin, listening to Ayub's tasbih, and then we can see that we may get sabr, we may get patient, but first step we have to take. So there are few Quranic ayat which is about patience. One which Yasmin has also highlighted in her presentation, that we surely test you with the measure of fear, hunger, and loss of wealth, fruits, and give you good news for those who are patient. And then there is other which is 8/46, and be patient. Surely Allah is with those who are as-sabirin. So the term as-sabirin is very important, because as-sabirin means those who are doing the sabr. If we see that in daily life, who is the person who is very calm and very quiet and do not make fuss, they may call themselves as I am, or I may be one of as-sabirin. But you cannot call yourself as-sabirin, because unless you have not developed the attribute of Imam Zaman or attribute of Prophet Muhammad, and you have gone through the spiritual path and have patience in while doing the ibadat, have patience while doing khidmat, have patience while doing good deeds, and have patience while taking the ilm. One more ayat is very important, which is 32/24, and we have made from among them leaders guiding by our command, and when they were patient, and when they were certain of our sign. So this is the ayat for leadership, that if we want to create a leadership attributes, patient is the requirement, and sabr is the requirement. And sabr in terms of not only the worldly matters, but it is more importantly, it's in the spiritual matters, more importantly in the religious matter. This sabr works for the reward, for the fanafillah, and for inhalation. So that's okay. So in conclusion, we have said that sabr relates more within the circle of Islam, within the circle of true Islam, Ismailism, and it has the Allah's attributes which relates to the humanity. Divine help is conditioned with sabr. So you get divine help when you start a step, when you try to fire the spark. So that is dependent, divine help for the sabr and the patient is dependent on your kind of activities, and you do for ilmi or for the ilmi khidmat, ilm khidmat and ibadat. and also advancement in knowledge and wisdom. So I have just made a 2 point here because sabr is connected with many other virtues or many other concepts. So all Quranic concepts are very much interlinked. The example which is given here is Quranic concepts are like food. So if you take meaning of one component and if you take a bucket filled with water and removed from it, the remaining water closes over. That means that for the true moment, all the virtues are connected with sabr. And with through the help of the Imam of the time, advancement in knowledge and wisdom, and regarding the truth and the reality, it is very important that maybe you being tested, but those who are truthful and those who stood fast and those who take hardship in terms of fighting with the nafs, that is basically patience, that is basically sabr, and you move from sabr, you take the steps of the sabr, and from there divine mercy and divine helps comes. So this is the concept of sabr, which usually, if you see in Quran, in Daim al-Islam, and in there is a book, Studies in Spiritualism and Dreams by Allama Nasiruddin Hunzai, and there are a collection of hadiths and stories of Prophet. If you read all those in details, you will find all this discussion which are in my slides. So with that, thank you very much. And sorry for the disturbance which was created earlier.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. Both khoob. Thank you, Dr. Saiba, and thank you, Yasmin, for a great session. We will open the floor for questioning. The first question, I think, is a very simple question. Let me post this here on the chat. She's asking about the prayers. Can you talk a little bit about how to get your prayers answered by Allah, and what are the best prayers?
Prayers answered by Allah, like I need to need to, if you can explain more what you want to know, because there are a lot of prayer, right?
Yeah.
I put Ar-Hamar Rahimeen as a prayer of Ayub. So there are a lot of prayers mentioned in the Quran in the name of lot of prophets. So since I was talking about Hazrat Ayub, so Hazrat Ayub did this prayer. And this is very important prayer, and we can also use this. So it is Arhamur Rahimeen. So Allah is Arhamur Rahimeen, merciful of the merciful. So we can say, thinking of Imam is Arhamur Rahimeen. So Imam of the time is Arhamur Rahimeen, and we can say to Imam that you are Arhamur Rahimeen, so help me and give mercy. If I answered your question.
मेरे ख्याल में इन साहिबा का ये क्वेश्चन है कि हम क्या करें कि खुदा जल्दी से या हमेशा से हमारी दुआओं को सुने और कबूल करें, और ऐसी कोई दुआ है कि जो ज्यादा शायद कबूल होती हो बनिस्बत दूसरी दुआओं से?
अच्छा तो या ये मतलब दुआएं तो बहुत सारी हैं, अलग अलग टाइम के लिए अलग अलग दुआएं हैं, बट सिर्फ दुआओं से यू डू दुआ, इट इज इम्पोर्टेंट, बट आपको दूसरी चीजें भी करनी है. सो यू हैव टू वॉक टूवर्ड्स द पाथ ऑफ स्पिरिचुअलिटी. सो उसके लिए मेहनत भी चाहिए. जैसे अगर हमारा बच्चा अगर एग्जाम में जाता है, या अगर हम भी इफ यू गो टू एग्जाम और हम कहें कि सिर्फ हम दुआओं से पास हो जाएं, तो ये बहुत मुमकिन नहीं है. हाँ, दुआ इज अ पुश, लेकिन हमको स्टेप तो उठाना पड़ेगा.
जी, I agree with you. So second question is in the same line. कि क्या जरूरी है कि हम फनाफी इमाम होने के लिए इन तमाम तकालीफ से गुजरे? क्या कोई आसान पैथ है?
Love the Imam
ये
of
तो
the
आप अगर किसी डॉक्टर को भी पूछ लें तो वो भी आपको बताएगा कि आसान तो बात कोई भी नहीं है। या आप ना करें, अगर आपको फना फिल्ला नहीं होना है तो या एक आसान बात ये है कि भाई एक वक्त आएगा ऐसा जब सब लोग फना हो जाएंगे, बट नेचुरली इसकी एग्जाम्पल हमेशा अल्लामा साहब ये देते हैं कि एक तो आपने खुद अपना गार्डन बनाया है और आपका अपना है, एंड देन आपने बड़ी मेहनत से बनाया है, बहुत मेहनत की है, पैसा लगाया है, बहुत सारी चीजें की है, और फिर इसके बाद जो है एक वो है कि आप लोगों को इनवाइट करते हैं कि चले आप गार्डन में आ जाएं। दोनों गार्डन में हैं, वो लोग भी हैं जिन्होंने अब कुछ भी नहीं किया है बट दे आर इन द गार्डन, एंड the person who has made the garden also is in the garden. At that time, who will feel the most happiness? The one who has made the garden and invited his friends. So ये एक आसान तरीका है कि भाई हम कुछ ना करें और फिर गार्डन में बैठ जाएं, लेकिन जो आपकी फीलिंग है एक हैप्पीनेस की, एक रिवॉर्ड की, वो उस वक्त तक नहीं आएगी जब तक आप इस ट्रायल्स एंड ट्रिबुलेशन से नहीं गुजरेंगे।
Gee, that is definitely correct, and I would say the greater the struggle, the greater the reward. So thank you, Rubina Saiba. Do we have any other question?
I had a question for you. Since we are in Kaljul, how does one, like I think for different ages, the sabr would be different, right? For different age groups. Is there steps to sabr
Yes,
in
that I
Kaljul
showed
time?
there for Prophet, Imam and Momin, right? So
Yes.
naturally, and if you're talking about children, if they're so small, then definitely those attributes does not apply or do not apply to children. It applies to after when you start living your religion. So the application जो है, that is different. So like you can see that this sabr, it does not apply to angels and it does not apply to animals. So at the same way, it does not apply to very little children. But those who are
I
healthy,
was meaning
those
more
who
like towards young adult and older. It would sabr would be different for the younger adults, like I don't know, maybe 30 plus, and then
so
for
younger
the
adult,
seniors.
so that's where in your youth, it is very important that you do all the activities when you are young, when you are healthy, and do not only just spend your time in the material life. You also balance your life with the spirituality and the religious life also. So because when you grow old, that will automatically be faded. So the full spirituality is gained in your youth when you're young. So yes, in that sense, it applies to those who are young.
So आप ये फरमा रहे हैं डॉक्टर साहबा कि सब्र का ताल्लुक अक्ल से है और बच्चों से नहीं, चूंकि उनमें अभी तक वो रेशनैलिटी डेवलप नहीं हुई होती है जिसको हम सब्र कहते हैं या पैगम्बराना मानों में सब्र कहते हैं।
हाँ, बिल्कुल। और ज़ाहिर है जब आप ओल्ड हो जाते हो तो भी आप में इतनी कैपेबिलिटीज नहीं होती है ये स्पिरिचुअलिटी में बहुत आगे जाने के लिए। जब आपके पास हेल्थ नहीं होती, तो जब आप यूथ लाइफ में होते हो, दिस इज द बेस्ट टाइम टू वॉक थ्रू द पाथ ऑफ स्पिरिचुअलिटी।
Thank you. Do we have any other question or on the same line of question on the sabr and patience?
Hi, Ali Madad. This is Shabnam Kimani. You hearing me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can
Yeah.
hear.
I have a I have a, I don't know how to say to you today, but I have answered every of my question today because I was going to call Niyami Saiba today. I was ready to call Niyami Saiba that why this thing is happening, why this thing is happening, while I take Mola's name every second. I wake up 3:30, I wake up for Bangi every day. And why this thing is happening to me? And now you gave me the answer. And I did keep the sabri you saying. I did that as well. And everything what you say today is answered my own question. I'm surprised. So beautiful. You did it so good,
So
so beautiful. God bless you.
this is miracle happened to you.
Yeah, it did happen to me, all those things.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy. Now I got my answer. I don't need to call Niyami Saiba because I always call her and ask everything. You know, she always answered me. She is my angel. She asks me every time all the questions. But today I don't need to call her. I just tell her thank you. You know, thank you very much. Very good job. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. So when you start the path, then you are tested, right? You enter into university, you're being tested.
Okay, thank you. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Yasmin. Thank you, Dr. Saiba. Mubarak again for yesterday's great session and convocation. Yali Madad, everybody.
Yeah, Lisa, thank you.
Yali Madad.
Thank you.
Yali
Take care.
Madad.
Yali Madad.
Yali Madad.